Well, it's official. House Democrats have passed their education funding plan off the House floor this week. Tell us how you voted and why.
Well, I voted no, but it was a pretty easy no vote for me, frankly. I kind of liken this bill to, and maybe not everybody that's listening remembers the old Wendy's advertisement, "Where's the beef?" You know, it looks like a hamburger until you take the bun off and you realize there's no meat in it. Well, that's what happened today. The education budget that was passed out of the House was a policy-only bill. There was not one penny attached to how they were going to pay for it. Now, one of the things that's probably, I would say, is kind of a bright shining light in a negative sense is that there's $11 billion in tax increase proposals that are sitting in the House Finance Committee right now, of which none of them have been voted on. And so it was actually pretty easy for me to vote no on something that I just include. This is an empty promise to the public, and there's no way I can support something like that. Furthermore, we have plenty of resources to pay for this. The other thing, too, about the plan is it did not fix the root problem of the plan that got us into McCleary decision in the first place. And a lot of that had to do with the local levy for schools issue that dates all the way back to the late 1960s that our courts have been saying now for 40 plus years is a problem. Nothing was done to fix that. The reforms were very light on reforms, and at the end of the day, my focus has been about when we fix this, it's not just about the money, it's also about making sure that we are doing everything we can to increase the outcomes for the students that are in the classrooms. That's got to be the number one focus. How do we get them better educated? And the bill just didn't do that.
Senate Republicans also had passed their plan. It came over to the House, sitting dead in the House Appropriations Committee. The House Democrats passed their plan as well. It's probably going to go over and die in the Senate. So what happens from here?
Well, let's talk about the Senate plan for a minute. There was a distinct difference between the House plan that I voted on today, which was a no vote, and the Senate plan that came over. And that was that the Senate plan actually did have all the funding in it. There's a big difference there. There was actually meat in the bun. It was a full hamburger. And so I don't want to pass judgment on either one of them on face value, but at least the Senate plan was a full plan. Like the details or not, it was completely funded, unlike the House plan. But I will say this is not uncommon at this stage of the game. You know, you've got your, what I refer to as your hyper-partisan votes. You've got your majority vote in the Senate and your majority vote in the House that were taken. They were party line votes. And it's basically, it sets up and you start posturing for, okay, now let's start negotiate. That's essentially where we come in. We've talked to our colleagues in the Senate and in the House as far as some of our ideas to help fill those gaps and help try and take these two very different plans and take the best things out of them and kind of merge them together into a plan that I think will help the state out and help the kids of the state out very well. And our part of this is going to be, we'll probably, as somebody referred to us before, we'll probably turn into Switzerland here in the near future and help negotiate the final deal.
You and your seatmate, Representative John Koster, earlier this week held a telephone town hall.
Yeah.
What did you hear from constituents back home?
Well, telephone town halls are a lot of fun. You know, we essentially, how it works is we call into several thousand residences in the district. We had hundreds of people on the line. We opened it up for live questions. We had over 50 people that had questions for us. We were not able to get to all of them, but some of the questions were pretty cool because they're specific to our district, you know, Highway 2, not just transportation, but education issues, environmental issues. There's just a whole litany. One of the poll questions we asked was related to education and how we're going to fund education. And overwhelmingly, people said that, look, we should not just put more money into education. We should do either, you know, for reforms only or a combination of reforms and more money to solve the problem in education. And so getting that direct feedback from our constituents is fantastic. The other thing we asked a question about was related to capital gains or income taxes, whether or not, based on the governor's proposal to actually come up with a capital gains income tax, whether or not our district supported that. It was over 70% of the people. It was kind of interesting to watch on the screen as people were voting live. We were watching the numbers just shoot up like crazy, really fast. And I think it was about 71% of our district said, absolutely not. We do not want a capital gains income tax. We've said that before on the ballot numerous times. And so I think that was, I know where my district's at. We got that one down.
So speaking of feedback, how do people get a hold of you if they have feedback on these or other issues?
On the bottom of the screen is all my contact information. And, you know, as we've talked about before, for me to be effective in the district, I need to know what's going on back home. And so any issue that you've got going on with state government, schools, you know, anything like that that's of concern, please feel free to either email me or call me. I've got staff here and a computer, and we're ready to, you know, to respond. And we may not have the answer immediately for you, but again, for me to serve the public properly, I need to know what's going on back home, and I look forward to all those contacts. And we do. I actually do see, by the way, I do see all those emails, I do see all the messages, and get a chance to respond. It's a lot of fun.